Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Tuesday Newly Widowed program. Today, I am so pleased that we have joining us Nancy Saltzman, who's going to be discussing words of inspiration. Some of you may be familiar with seeing Nancy on our Saturday Growing Through Grief calls. She's been popping in there and is running that show. So I also would like to tell you a little bit about Nancy. I know you've seen her, heard a little bit about her, but I would like to introduce Dr. Nancy Saltzman. She grew up in Bloomington, Indiana. She attended Colorado College and received a master's degree in special education from the University of Colorado and a PhD in educational leadership from the University of Denver. She received the prestigious Milken Family Foundation Award for her work in education and was recognized as Colorado's National Distinguished Principal and was awarded the American Cancer Society's Sword of Hope. Following Nancy's successful 32-year career, 32 years, wow, 32-year career as a teacher and administrator, she published her memoir, Radical Survivor. Using humor and an open, honest style of writing, Nancy tells a story of how she survived cancer and the loss of her husband and two sons in a small plane crash. Nancy presently lives in Colorado Springs, where she is remarried to a widower, Greg Roman, who happens to also be our Soaring Spirits board chair. They live there with their two dogs, Teddy and Finn, who you may occasionally see pop into the background. She stays busy hiking in the foothills with her dogs and her friends. She volunteers in the community and serves on our leadership team at Soaring Spirits and Camp Widow. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you very much. It's great to see you guys. I recognize a lot of your faces from the Saturday calls. And I just want to say that it's an honor to be here with you guys. I'm excited to share some of my favorite quotes. But I do want to say, when I got the Sword of Hope from the American Cancer Society, my mom said to me, "You got the Sword of Hope, like you sort of are hopeful." And I'm like, "Mom, it was the sword, like the sword of hope." Anyway, so I'm also hopeful, so it kind of all fits together. But it's really great to see you guys. So I'm going to, Mary and I practice this, so I'm going to share my screen. So Mary mentioned that I was widowed, and that was in 1995, and my husband and two sons died in a small plane crash. So I just wanted to show you how cute my family was before we got going, because a lot of the quotes that I'll talk about today have to do with the grief that I had about becoming widowed and moving forward as all of you are doing. So one of the things that I thought about when I was thinking about talking to widowed people at Camp Widow and putting together this presentation was a book that I read by Susan Hannafin McNabb. And she wrote the book, The A to Z Healing Toolbox. And she talked about the fact that words, quotes, and phrases that when read and said can affect positive change in our conscious and our subconscious mind. And she added that reviewing quotes that inspire hope interrupts the negative thinking and negative feeling brain pathways that are associated with the symptoms of grief and trauma. Because I always wondered why I thought it was so important to have, I have quotes all over my office. You can see I'm sitting in my office now. And you can already tell that I love Susan Hannafin McNabb, and I think some of you are probably familiar with Susan through some of these presentations. And so she really inspired me to think about the impact that these quotes had on me. So our goal today is just to encourage you guys to read each quote, think for yourself, is this helpful? Will it inspire me? Will it reduce negative thoughts I have? Will it increase hope for me? And if the quote does give you support, well, that's great. And if not, just ignore it. You can make comments. In fact, I'd like you to make comments in the comment bar if they have a good effect on you or maybe not so good effect. But you obviously, you don't have to comment either. Please remember to be respectful and sensitive as you write your comments. So now, Mary, I can't see the comments, so now I gotta do that. Let's try this. Oh, sheesh.
Go to your more button
More
and hit chat
chat. There we go. We'll try this again.
and then hit play.
Okay, so I'm looking at all of you and okay, let's try that. Yay! Okay, now I can see you, I can see the quotes, and I can see the chat. So okie dokie is one of my favorite quotes. And so that's why I have it on there. I also have some of my other favorite quotes that I wrote. So some people say that things happen for a reason, and I say we make reason out of things that happen. And I think one of the reasons why I think that is because I just could never come up with a reason why my husband and sons would die in a small plane crash. So what worked for me was to think I can make reason out of what happened. So I can think about what I can do to impact others because of what happened to me. I was a principal at the time. And so I went back to work a week after the plane crashed so that I could talk to the kids about what you do when something really bad happens to you or something sad. And I let them ask me questions and they want to know everything. And so I think that I felt like it was really important for me to talk to kids about talking when you're sad or you have questions. And so that's why that made sense to me. And a lot of times I hear people say, well, I know that everything happens for a reason. And I think in my head, well, I'm going to make reason out of the things that happen to me. Feel free to write anything in that comment section, you guys. So now I have some quotes pretty much about grief. And some of them you may be familiar with. Some of them you actually maybe have up on your wall. Grief is like the ocean. It comes in waves, ebbing and flowing. Sometimes the water is calm and sometimes it's overwhelming. All we can do is learn to swim. Does that ring a bell with anybody? Yeah. Mary, thank you for shaking your head. And I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Megan Devine's book. It's called It's Okay, You're Not Okay. And this is one of the quotes from her book. It says, you aren't sick, you aren't damaged, you're grieving. That's very different. Grief needs companionship and acknowledgement, not repair. And I think that's really important to remember that we're maybe in a place that we don't recognize, but it is because we're grieving, but that's really kind of normal for us. Oh, and Yvonne wrote, someone explain that to my bosses. I think, yes, I think it's hard for people to understand, especially if they haven't experienced any loss. I agree. And Margie wrote, yes, definitely. Sometimes it feels like a tidal wave when it hits. And that was the one about the waves. So, oh, and that's a good one. Cindy said, sometimes like now, I feel like I'm treading water. And I think that's absolutely true. I remember a therapist saying to me, we always have to remember that no matter what's happening, we have to be willing to reach up and grab a life preserver because we do feel like we're treading water and we need to reach for people to be there for us. Oh, Margie, I like this one too. I have a friend who keeps trying to fix me. Oh boy, that's frustrating. And here's a good one. Life is not pain versus happiness. One does not replace the other. They exist together. Happiness doesn't arrive as a replacement. It arrives to assist you in carrying the weight of pain. And I remember being really surprised really early on in my grief that I could be in deep pain and feel great loss, but also be happy at the same time, or be one second and one another second. And it took me a while. And then it was really, this was a horrible thing that somebody said to me, but she said, a friend of mine said, you must not have loved your family very much because look how happy you are right now. And I remember thinking there must be something the matter with me that I'm not sad 100% of the time, that I actually have feelings of happiness or feelings of joy, or I can appreciate petting my dog and feeling some happiness. So I think this this was really good for me to learn that you can carry all these different emotions within you. And then Greg wrote, people feel uncomfortable when seeing a widowed person being happy. They just don't get it. And Cindy wrote, yes, Margie, they can't deal with your feelings, especially the anger or the crying. And Drew said, I have the happy, sad feelings many times. It feels like those waves that they were talking about, that kind of getting hit and then being okay. And yeah, thanks for your comments, you guys. And this one really spoke to me when I saw it. It said, my heart aches in corners I did not know existed. And isn't that amazing to think of the pain that you can actually, you just didn't know you were capable of feeling the depth of that sadness. And Mary wrote in here, and sometimes those waves knock us over, but we keep getting up. Yes. And we count on soaring spirits and things like this to help us going from one second to the next second. Oh, me, survivor of a tidal wave, look at all the wreckage. Yeah, exactly. It does feel odd to have a sense of happiness that I cannot grasp moving forward without him, but I have feelings of lightness sometimes. And someone wrote, wow, that's how my heart is. And this one is, my heart still searches for you without my permission. And I think our hearts are still searching for our loved ones without our permission. And Anne Lamott, I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but she's an author. And she said, you will lose someone you can't live without, and your heart will be badly broken. And the bad news is that you will never completely get over the loss of your beloved. But this is also the good news. They live forever in your broken heart that doesn't seal back up, and you come through. It's like having a broken leg that never heals perfectly, that still hurts when the weather gets cold, but you learn to dance with the limp. Yeah, I love Anne Lamott too. And what's interesting is somebody was commenting about how people don't understand. It's been 25 years to me, and I'm still I still have huge loss and sadness about what I lost. And I'm very happy and I love my life, but maybe this would help people understand why you're just not the same and you're never going to be the same again. So that might be worth sharing with someone who's willing to hear it, I guess. When you succumb to fear, you are under the illusion that you can predict the future. And this is a quote from, and I have several from Jen Sincero and Sincero, actually. And the book is called You Are a Badass, which we all are because we're surviving and we haven't given up on life and we are reaching out to others. So, but I thought this was pretty good because I think maybe in our life at some point we thought we could predict the future. And we've learned that in fact, we weren't able to predict or control the future. And here's some quotes about coping. Let's keep fear in that place in our minds and our hearts where we can make those brave, soft choices to find our way forward when there is no way back. And I don't know if you guys have heard of Kate Bowler. Well, I guess I don't have her book right here. She's author of Everything Happens for a Reason and Other Lies I've Loved. And she was diagnosed when she, I think either right after she had a baby or she was even pregnant with stage 4 cancer. And so she talks a lot about how she's had to go from day to day. And I really loved where she said where we can make those brave, soft choices to find our way forward when there's no way back. Because I do feel like that is what we have to do, is make those brave, soft choices so that we can move forward. In the end, maybe it all comes down to the last story we tell and the person we tell it to. And in the end, when I whisper our story to the stars, I hope you are there. And I relate to this a lot because I'm not a religious person, so I don't know what's going to happen when I die. I hope that when I die, I see my family again. people are certainly telling me that's going to happen, and maybe it will, and that would be very cool. But I feel like I can whisper my story to the stars, and that Joel, Adam, and Seth can hear what I'm telling them. So I don't know. Does anybody else feel like that? Does anybody else talk to the stars, or like look up in the sky and talk to their people? Greg wrote, one of the greatest coping mechanisms to tell your family story as often as you can. Each time you tell it, it gets easier. And I love this one. I have this one right in front of me because I really think this is true. And it goes back to what Greg said. Oh, I have these on here. I talk to my husband all the time. And Rick, we're all made of stardust. And Margie wrote, it is comforting. This one says, do you have a magic spell to return someone to life? She said, no, the witch said, I'm sorry. Oh, well, why don't you tell me about them? Will that bring them back? For us, for a little while, stories are a different kind of magic. And I think that telling our stories, we may be telling them forever and ever and ever, no matter what's happening in our life. And it does bring them back for us for a little while. And I know some people don't want to hear our stories, and that's one of the most beautiful things about Soaring Spirits, is there's always going to be somebody who wants to hear your story and wants to hear about you and hear about the people who were really important to you, who you loved. And so I think that's the peer-to-peer connection, what you guys do when you get together on Tuesdays and Saturdays, so that we can tell our stories a little and have that different kind of magic. Oh, I love this. Cindy said, I've started talking a bit to this cardinal that shows up in a tree behind my lanai. Oh, that's great. Okay, and here's, let's see, well, I can't. My screen is being blocked. There it is. If there ever is a tomorrow when we're not together, there is something you must always remember. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. But the most important thing is, even if we're apart, I'll always be with you. And I'm an elementary school principal, so of course I have to have some Winnie the Pooh quotes in here. Winnie the Pooh, very smart. And this is another quote from Megan Devine. Some things cannot be fixed. They can only be carried. Oh, let's see, I got some quotes in here. Oh, Sandy said I really like that one. Hopefully that was the Pooh one or this one. But I love this too. Some things cannot be fixed. They can only be carried. And I know people want to fix us and they want to take our pain away, but they need to understand that we're going to carry this with us because it can't be fixed. Love is the only thing in the world that can make you feel as though you are both the strongest and the weakest person in it. I really like that one, the Pooh one. Oh yeah, isn't that amazing that love really is the only thing in the world that can make you feel as though you're both the strongest and the weakest person? And aren't we grateful that we had that much love in our life? At least I am. I'm very grateful that I had the love that I had and the love that I have now. This is Tom Zuba wrote the book Permission to Mourn, A New Way to Do Grief. And I actually met Tom at Camp Widow. And he has a book, and every chapter is kind of like this. They're kind of like little poems, but this is one of my favorite ones that I think of all the time. And definitely when I meet someone who is early in their grief, and I can just send them a little note, I might type this and say, someone you love dearly has died. Your life has changed forever. Many of your dreams have been shattered. And for now, the best you can do is hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. You are not alone. And we know that the power of having people who will just sit with us and not try to fix us, but know that they're there and they're going to be there while we hold on, I think is so important. You are not alone. And no question that Michelle Neff Hernandez and Soaring Spirits has really helped people find others who are willing to sit there with you as you just be where you are. This one is the very least you can do in your life is to figure out what you hope for. The most you can do is live inside that hope, running down its hallways, touching the walls on both sides. And this quote actually had a huge impact on me because I actually thought of it physically, that when I was at school, I would actually think of things that I'd hoped for and run down the hallways with my arms out. Well, no, when nobody was around. I want them to think I was crazy. But living inside the hope that I could survive and move forward and enjoy my life and experience joy again and love again. Because I had loved being married. I mean, I really did. And I wanted to live inside the hope, running down its hallways and touching the walls. And I know she didn't mean it like literally running down those walls, but that's what it said to me. And I don't know how many of you guys have read Barbara Kingsolver. This is from her book, The Bean Trees. And I do recommend her books. And this is another quote from Jen Sincero from You Are a Badass. All worrying will do is make you live through the misery twice. And I don't know about you guys, but I try to work all the time on not worrying about things that I can't change. So this quote really spoke to me. And there are a lot of things I could worry about all the time. And so I have to really control that. Like when somebody doesn't show up on time to meet me, I can worry about whether something happened to them because we know bad things happen. And that's a reality that we have. So I'm working on that. I'll be working on that for my lifetime, I think. This is Alfred E. Newman from Mad Magazine. What me worry. Now, some of you guys are old enough to recognize this. If you know who Alfred E. Newman is, will you write in the chat? I know who he is, so I know who we're dealing with. Mad Magazine. Does that ring a bell with anybody? Okay, and this one, thanks you guys. Oh, there's a bunch of people who know who he is. Oh, I modeled myself after him. Very funny. Oh, yay. I have some age compatriots. So, they quit publishing Mad Magazine. I guess maybe it's online. But. So this quote I have right in front of my desk, and it says, silent gratitude benefits no one. And I think that's been really important for me in my healing process, because it's made me really pay attention to how many people were there to support me and focus on letting them know how much I appreciate what they do. And of course, when I thank somebody, it gives a lot back to me. So I love that quote. And here's Jen Sincero again. We throw a wet blanket of ho-hummery over our lives when we live in fear of what others might think instead of celebration of who we are. And I think that's really true. And I think when you're grieving and you're sad and your boss doesn't recognize how hard it is to be going through what you're going through, it's important, I guess, because they're your boss. But we don't want to stop being who we are and feeling what we feel because somebody else isn't comfortable with it. Comparison is the quickest way to take the fun out of life. It's kind of the same thing. When in fact, on some of these calls, I've seen some comments where people have said, I'm out so many months, or I'm out so many years, and I want to be further along. I want to be where other people are. And we just can't make ourselves be where we aren't ready to be. And, I went back to work a week after because I had nothing else to do. And I know some people never go back to the job that they had. And both of those things are right. They're right for the person who does them. So comparing ourselves in our grief journey, I think, doesn't do anything really good for us. It makes it harder. Here's some quotes about hope. Okay, this is one of my favorite ones. It's okay to wake up laughing. If I could see all of you, I would make you raise your hands, but well, I can do that later. I like this one because I am married to somebody who's a widower, but his whole thing is waking up every day and being happy. I mean, he just wakes up happy, right? And so I call him a cork, because if you're on the water and you're floating like we're talking about with the waves and everything, he's always on the top of the water like a cork. And I'm kind of up here and I come up and I go down a little bit and then up, and I'm corky and then I go down. But I love this quote because it reminds me that it is really okay to wake up laughing, even if some days I don't feel like it. Oh, I like that Sue wrote, I've learned not to compare through these meetings. That's great. And so, oops, went the wrong way. So here's a quote that makes me laugh. Exercise. I thought you said extra fries. Uh-oh. Go away. Anybody relate to that? I thought you said, well, here's another one then. I'm into fitness. Fitness cookie in my mouth. Of course, I love Cookie Monster. But in fact, for a while, I had Cookie Monster's voice on my direction system in my car. So Cookie would say, C is for cookie, also for cop. Ask the cop if he wants a cookie. So that gave me some, I enjoyed that. Rick wrote, did someone say extra fries? I'm in. And Mary said, those are me. And here's one by Jimmy Valvano. I know he was a coach. I think it was basketball. And Jimmy Valvano passed away of cancer. And Drew said, I'll take a cookie. And I saw Jimmy Valvano when he had cancer. And I'm a survivor of breast cancer. And I remember him, he was doing a big fundraiser. And this was when my family was still alive. And I just remember watching him and being so amazed by his attitude, even though he had terminal cancer. And this is what he said. To me, there are three things we all should do every day. We should do this every day of our lives. Number one is laugh. You should laugh every day. Number two is think. You should spend some time in thought. And number three is you should have your emotions move to tears, could be happiness or joy. But think about it. If you laugh, you think, and you cry, that's a full day. That's a heck of a day. You do that 7 days a week, you're going to have something special. And I really appreciate that Jimmy Valvano could be facing his cancer, but still giving us advice about maybe good ways to move forward in our lives. And I think I definitely try to laugh every day. Well, certainly think. I don't cry every day, but I do cry. I'm a baby when I watch TV and cry at everything on TV. So I guess I have pretty good days. If you are serious about changing your life, you'll find a way. If you're not, you will find an excuse. Now, of course, that's easier said than done. A lot of motivational things we hear, they say, if you just want it, you can have it. Well, that's not true. There are certain things, if we want, we can try to get them, but we can't get our people to come back and be alive on this earth. So, but I do think we have to work at making the changes that we want. And so that's why I like this quote. And this is a quote from my book. It says, my tools may not suit others, my lessons may be different, but here's the secret. The simple act of reaching out and holding a broken heart with care and love is the most powerful help and comfort anyone can ever offer. And that's something every single one of us can do. And one of the reasons why I wanted to write about my loss was to help me understand how I could survive the losses that I've had. And so this is really what I think, is that the reaching out to other people is also so comforting for us. It's the silent gratitude benefits no one. It's if we can in our grief, reach out to others, it helps us move forward in our grief. Has anybody else found that helping other people has helped them also move forward? Well, obviously Mary and I do, and Greg, because we all work with soaring spirits, and that's one of the um, main things of this is so frustrating. So my stupid chat now won't let me see the other messages. Okay, well, Mary, you are going to have to look at the chat. No, you can't either, huh? Okay, note to self, when things feel overwhelming, remember, one thought at a time, one task at a time, one day at a time. Okay.
Nancy, try going to more again and hitting the chat.
I did, so I did, but it won't let me click on the 5 messages. I'll try this. I'm sorry. You guys are very patient. Okay. Yay. Now I can see them. So Greg wrote, helping others understand the widowed experience, and that if you can make it, they can make it, is one of the best means for coping with your loss. And Sandy wrote, yes, it's therapeutic. And see one up here. Yes, I return to work and I feel like I'm contributing to something greater than myself. This is another quote by Anne Lamott. Hope begins in the dark, the stubborn hope that if you just show up and try to do the right thing, the dawn will come. You wait and watch and work. You don't give up. There are going to be people in your life who change your trajectory. They're going to walk into your life for a month, a lifetime, or anything, anytime in between. And they're going to disrupt something in your life. They'll challenge you, they'll shake your beliefs, they'll trigger you, and then stand by as you work through your healing. These people will teach you and be taught by you. You'll, oh, jeez. These comments are going to kill me. There we go. They'll stand by you as you work through your healing. These people will teach you and be taught by you. You'll dance and play. You'll see the softer sides that others don't get to see. They'll lay down markers on your life's timeline. Markers that roar, I was here, pre-me, post-me. They're the life changers, the good type of change, not the one that takes you away from yourself, but the one that brings you home. And I think hopefully you've all found people who are like this for us. So Herb wrote, yes, helping others is huge, and it does not have to be with grief, but with something they need. Totally, I agree with that. And this is a great quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. We don't have to become heroes overnight, just a step at a time, meeting each thing that comes up, seeing it as not as dreadful as it appears, discovering that we have the strength to stare it down. And now some quotes about hope. You may not have signed up for a hero's journey, but the second you fell down, got your butt kicked, suffered a disappointment, screwed up, or felt your heart break, it started. It doesn't matter whether we're ready for an emotional adventure, hurt happens, and it happens to every single one of us without exception. The only decision we get to make is what role we'll play in our lives. Do we want to write the story, or do we want to hand that power over to someone else? Choosing to write our own story means getting uncomfortable. It's choosing courage over comfort. And that's by Brene Brown. And I'm assuming some of you are familiar with her work, but she really encourages us to not try to be a hero, but be who we are and be our honest selves, which I really appreciate. Let's see. Um, and this one I love. This makes me think of everybody who volunteers at Soaring Spirits. It says, I love when people that have been through hell walk out of the flames carrying buckets of water for those still consumed by the fire. And I think that's the amazing thing about Soaring Spirits is everybody involved understands what everybody on some level is going through. And I appreciate that people are willing to take the risk because they might have additional emotional upheaval from helping other people. But in the end, it's so helpful and it's helpful to us as well. And a friend of mine, Patty Pigford, said this: pay attention to small victories every day, no matter how small they are victories. And then I listened to an interview with John Green, and he's the one who wrote The Fault in the Stars. And he said he hears all the time that when someone's going through something bad, don't just stand there, do something. But really for us, sometimes we just want someone to not do anything, but just stand there with us. And I really appreciated that he'd said that. And then here we have, oh, here's some good things. It says, I really like choosing courage over comfort. It's how I'm moving forward. And this is a good one to remember. Small victories help me get through the day. Absolutely. I agree with that. Yes, the small wins are important. Thanks, you guys. It says you can be kind and still say no. Boundaries are a form of self-care. And this is something I have to learn and relearn and learn and relearn because I really need to protect my emotional strength and keep space for people who need it. So just a reminder. Is one of the beautiful compensations in this life that no one can sincerely try to help another without helping himself. That's Ralph Waldo Emerson. And Margie wrote, so important. I've really learned this one over this year. Oh my goodness gracious. It's amazing how fast a kind word from the right person can improve your day. Share your kindness, improve someone's day. And isn't that true when we're just, someone just looks at us and gives us, well, of course, we can't really smile at each other with our masks on. So that's one of the good things about being able to use Zoom. But I love this one because I think it's really true. And I try to remember this for other people, but I love it when people say a kind word to me as well. To all the people who are loving and kind to me, thank you for the sunshine you bring into my life. Mary. Life will break you. Nobody can protect you from that. And living alone won't either, for solitude will also break you with its yearning. You have to love, you have to feel. It's the reason you are here on earth. You are here to risk your heart. You are here to be swallowed up. And when it happens that you are broken or betrayed or left or hurt or death brushes near, let yourself sit by an apple tree and listen to the apples falling all around you in heaps, wasting their sweetness. Tell yourself you tasted as many as you could. And that's Louise Erdrich. She's also an author. I think it's great. So what if instead of thinking about solving your whole life, just think about adding additional good things one at a time. Just let your pile of good things grow. And this, this can even happen right at the beginning of your grief journey. If you can think of one good thing to put in your pile and let your pile of good things grow. Keep in mind that there is no way to go about this. Everyone's journey is unique, and we're all trying to get to the same place where we feel happiest, the most alive, and the most like ourselves. There is sacredness in tears. They are not the mark of weakness, but of power. They speak more eloquently than 10,000 tongues. They are the messengers of overwhelming grief an unspeakable love. Now this I have up in front of me too. I can see it right now. It says, I go out to the world not knowing what awaits me, my family and loved ones within my heart, feeding my spirit and strengthening me. And I do believe that they're in my heart, strengthening me. And this is a quote from Michelle Neff Hernandez, the person who started Soaring Spirits International. Amazing, amazing, not like any other person in the whole world, widowed in her 30s, and decided to start an organization to change the lives of thousands of widowed people. And she has so many brilliant things to say, and I only have a couple of them in my show, but here's one of them. Honoring your life, I will live. Honoring your life, I will make a difference in the world. Honoring your life, I will, what is that word? Oh, I will love, an important word, big and generously, always, forever, and still you are loved. And she's talking about her husband, Phil. And here's another one. Surviving your death has taught me that no dream is guaranteed. While that reality may seem a deterrent to creating new dreams, the contrary is true. Understanding the shortness of life has helped me acknowledge the value of the now in a way that was never possible for me before your death. I can see someone said, will these quotes be posted somewhere? Well, I think because they're recording it, I think we'll be able to go back and see them. Is that right? Okay. And so, yeah, Mary wrote that. Sandy, you can see all the quotes in the replay under meetings. I will have the replay up in a few hours. And David wrote, in the past, I never understood this type of stuff, but now I'm feeling these a little too much. And I can understand. I wish I could reach out and give you a big hug. In this one, I love, I carry you with me everywhere I go, and I look for you in stars you have never seen. But now everywhere I go is a place where you have been. And I like to think that that's true, to think that my family gets to go wherever I go now, and they've been there. And that makes me think of Snoopy in this cartoon. In life, it's not where you go, it's who you travel with. And I feel lucky to be able to travel on my journey with all of you, because that's what's been able to help me move forward, is knowing widowed people who understood and could be there when I needed them. So those are some of my favorite quotes. And of course, I'm always getting more and more, but we're going to stop there. I know I added this at the end, and these are just some of the books that I took some of the quotes from. Obviously not all of them, but these are just some of the books that I recommend that have been helping. And those will be as part of the show that Mary was talking about having recorded. But really what I'd like to do now, I think if I'm going to quit sharing my screen, and I'd really like, I think Mary said we can have people put quotes in the chat, but also we can take the mute off. And if people want to share maybe a favorite quote they had or a reaction they had to one of the quotes that we didn't get to talk about, we have some time to talk about, do quotes talk to you? Do they make you crazy? Do they bring up too much?
Yep. Just like
Anybody
Nancy said. Yeah, we're going to transition to the Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. But for all of our viewers who are watching this on the replay, I just want to thank Nancy and for sharing her wisdom with us, and for all of you watching. So thank you.